In this video, I'm going to show you all the changes that happen on the aviationweather.gov. NOAA made a major update, and quite frankly, I think this is one of the best weather tool at the moment that you can use to do your planning before cross-country, before a local flight. So we're going to dive in and take a look at all the different functionalities. This, by the way, works really well in mobile as well. So the first thing we want to do is open your browser, obviously, go to aviationweather.gov, and then from here you will see this page. Now, I find it interesting actually that they split that into current conditions, but when you click on current conditions, it actually takes you to this section here, which is the graphical forecast for aviation. This is going to be the biggest thing that we will be spending time on, is that graphical forecast, because, well, that's where all the different reports are going to be located. Now, if you wanted to do a really quick check on a local airport, you would go right down here and then you would type in your airport. We are in Prescott, KPRC. I would do most recent, maybe the past 6 hours, and kind of see what happens. We want it in RAW. I don't like the decoded version. And if you want to remember this airport because you fly there all the time, click this, and then next time you come to the website, it's going to have it saved. And here we go. We would have the METAR information, and then we would have the TAF for that specific airport. And you could put several stations in here. This is the quick and dirty if you really just want a METAR and a TAF, which a lot of people do. This is where you would do it. Now, from here, let's take a look at the menus up here before we dive into the graphical version. We have weather information. So you have two things. Remember, your weather reports are divided into observations and forecast, and look at all the different forecast products that we have available here. All these should be familiar things that you've seen before. And then here we have products where you will have the ability to look at your SIGMET and your AirMETs, and then your prognosis charts. You have a way to look at the TAF on the map. You also have a way to look at the METAR and the TAF and the PIREP and even the winds aloft. We'll talk about that in a second as data. So same thing that we've seen down here with our station data. You will also be able to do it from up here. So if you want raw data, this is where you're going to be doing it. But let's go ahead and kind of plan a flight. We're going to be planning a flight just for the purpose of showing you what this does. We're going to go from Macon, Georgia to Richmond. And there is quite a bit of weather going on in that area, as you can see here on the chart. That's why I picked these airports. And we're going to be doing a stop in Charlotte as well. So that's going to really help you figure out all the different products and what they look at. So the one thing that I would do first is, let's say that we're planning this flight several days in advance, up to 7 days. You can go to the prognostic charts and you would go right here and it would load up this section. You see on the top left here, it says prognostic chart. This is good. This is exactly what we want. And it shows your high pressure, low pressure, and then it shows all of the weather in a specific area. Now, this is for all of North America right now, even Central America. We're going to zoom in a second, but I want to show you this on the top right here, because these menus are available on all the different products that NOAA has on this website. This is going to be our different layers. So here we have the ability, this is going to change depending on the page that you're on, but here we can put weather, turn it on or off, or the front, okay? I'm not going to show you all these options for all the pages, but you understand the logic of selecting different layers. And then here, very cool, we have the ability to change a bunch of different options. And I want you to play with this because I think you can customize this view to something that works for you. Under imagery, we can actually change the opacity of the weather. Personally, I like it a little bit lower so it doesn't overtake the entire image. So I like to have mine a little bit lower right here. And then we have the format. Now, I like to use local time. I know we're supposed to be using the UTC time all the time, but when I do a cross-country planning, I like to just look at local time. So you can change that right here, and it's going to give you that option. And then another great thing in here is going to be the type of base map that you're using. It's by default shows the light gray version. You can go with terrain, and you notice as I do this, bam, it loads the entire terrain map for the United States. You can do roads, you can do satellites. There's a lot of things you can do in here. I like to put it as VFR chart if you're going to be doing a VFR flight, or as IFR low level if you're going to be doing that. I'm going to leave it on VFR chart because I think you guys are familiar with that look. That's under the map format. And then on the map features here, you have the ability to clutter, absolutely clutter this map if you wanted to. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just so you can see what I'm talking about. But as we get closer to the area where we might be flying, if you wanted to add information specifically about airports, you would be able to show the airports here, and they start to show in the background. You notice them right here. If you have the VFR chart, the airports are pretty easy to find, but you can show the ID as well, and it gets complex very quickly, especially if you're on the East Coast. So I only recommend this if you really wanted to have that information in here, but otherwise, and then you can change the size of them, but otherwise I would turn that off. But you can put fixes in here, you can put your nav aids, you can put the jet routes, you can put even your airways in here. And again, like I said, it can be pretty overwhelming, but if you're familiar with ForeFlight, for example, this is the same idea. You can add the airspace, you can add the special use airspace, and then let's say that you were using a different map. Maybe that's useful if you were to just do terrain and then overlay your airspace on top of it, then that's a good way to do it. I think if you use the chart, you can skip the features here and then keep your VFR chart as it is. And then lastly, I want to show you one more thing, which is going to be our bookmark here. If you like this view, just bookmark this. You can copy it right here, save it on your browser, and then you'll be able to come back to it in the future. So cool. Very cool map options. I think this is something that's very useful. And another thing that we can look at, so remember we're in the prognostic chart right here, and I mentioned that we're going to be flying from Macon, Georgia, all the way to Richmond and flying through Charlotte. And so wouldn't it be nice if we could add an overlay of our flight? Well, guess what? The next option right here is a flight path. So I'm going to click on that. And right here, we will be able to enter our route of flight. And KMCN, that's Macon. We're going to go to Charlotte, CLT, and then we're going to go to Richmond. And I'm going to click on Draw Path. And what it does, if we zoom out a little bit, we will see our path has been drawn between the three airports. And you notice now why I did this. You notice the overlay in the back. We made it a little bit lighter, but we have some weather, obviously, on our route of flight. So if I go back, because I wanted to show you this as well, this is available, again, like I said, on all the different products that they have available, the graphical version, and then this prognostic chart version as well, whether it's for a forecast or for a current condition. You can select a variable here of temperature, wind, or turbulence. Let's see wind speed, for example. And we're not going to be flying at 48,000 feet. We're going to be flying at 6,000 feet, let's say. And here, I know this is not the best display, quite frankly. I love the website. I love what they've done, but I think this display could be a little bit better. But you see at the bottom, this is a terrain, the dark gray areas, and everything else is color-coded as far as wind speed, all the way to 6,000 feet right here. And then if you notice, let's say right at over CLT here at 6,000 feet, we're going to be between 25 and 30 knots. This gives you a pretty quick overview of what the winds are. I don't know that I'm a big fan of the color grading in here, but it is what it is. This doesn't give you wind direction, by the way, just wind speed. So it just helps you kind of quickly take a glance at what the wind is going to be. You can do the same thing with turbulence. You can do the same thing with temperature. So temperature here, you'll see that it cools off obviously as we climb, and then for turbulence, same thing. It's going to give you an idea of the turbulence. So I'm going to close this right here, and this is kind of it right here for on this side. We can go to a specific airport if we wanted to, using that little magnifying glass here. And then if you have current location turned on, you could click that. It takes you directly to where you are located, which is nice and dandy. And then the zoom buttons here, I'm going to use trackpad. And at the bottom here, we will have the ability to look at the future, because this is a prognostic chart, is going to be a look into the future. So we can go from 8 a.m. here local on Friday, which was, this was posted about 2.5 hours ago. And then we can click onto the next forecast of what the weather is going to look like. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see clearly what I'm talking about as far as the changes in, there you go. As I'm clicking from one to the next, you can see exactly what that front is doing as it's moving across. Obviously, over the area that we're going to be flying, there's going to be a cold front that's moving through, so that's why we're having so much weather going on right now, and then low pressure system moving in as well. Okay, So that's our prognostic chart. And this is the first thing that you're going to be looking at in order to just do like a quick overview over the next couple days. You can go up to 7 days here and see what the weather is going to be on your route of flight. From here, let's say that we're getting closer to our flight and we're getting within 6 hours of our flight. Then we're going to start to move towards the other products here, which is the observation to see the current status and then the forecast. We also have up here a SIGMET and AirMet. So let's say that we're going to be flying later today in about 3 hours. And let's say that we're going to look at SIGMET and AirMet. Let's start with AirMet right here. And as we zoom in, you notice our route of flight is still here. And now we have our AirMet that are showing up. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. Let's go back and take a look at our slider down here. So right here, 8 a.m., that's when all that information was recorded, which, like I said, was 2.5 hours ago. And we're going to be flying closer to 2 p.m. local time right here, which is 6 hours in the future. So somewhere between here and here is where the weather conditions are going to be when we do our flight. So we can click on each of these. There's icing condition going on. And you notice on the left side here, we have an MSL slider. So it's giving us all of the information for all the different flight levels, which is not really of interest to us. Icing is likely going to be pretty high up here. It says tops at 20,000 and then the base at 10,000. So I'm going to slide this to go to our altitude of flight, expected altitude of flight, which is 6,000. And I can go between 6,000 and 9,000 because I might have to climb in case something happens. And you notice here, if we go between the two, all of a sudden we have this icing AirMet that shows up. So we know that if we had to climb to 9,000, it would become, a little icy. I'm not trying to make a joke here. Something that we have to pay attention to. And then here we have mountain obscuration. That's also in the AirMet. It's not necessarily exactly on our route of flight, but the way that things are moving, this could become an issue. How would you know? You can go to the bottom here, and then you can click and see how that cell is moving. There it is. Before and then during our flight. Possibly if we get delayed, this is where it would be a little bit later. So we have to take a look at all these things. Now, if you have a brain fart, if you want, at any time, you can put the legend right here and it will show you. And this is also available on all the different products. So this is AirMet, okay? So we are familiar with the fact that there is possible icing conditions flying at a higher altitude. We probably should stay at 6,000 feet or below just to kind of avoid it. And then we know right here at the tip, there's going to be possible IFR conditions with mountain obstructions. Then we're going to go to our SIGMET. Here's the SIGMET right here. Let's take a look and see if anything is going to happen during our route of flight. Again, 6,000 feet. It's loading right now. We notice we have a convective SIGMET to the north. We have one to the south. And here it is, convective SIGMET, all the way until 11:55 a.m. Remember, this is local time, so this one should go away, although it doesn't mean that a new one is not going to pop up when this one goes away. This happened to me recently on a flight. A convective SIGMET was between me and the airport where I wanted to go. It was supposed to expire, and then as soon as it expired, it popped up a new one. So don't think that this is the end of it. It just means that this one is going to expire, then they could issue a new one. Okay, so same thing, same idea here. Between 6,000 and 9,000 feet, we can see kind of what is going on with the convective SIGMET. See when that bar is loading right here. We have to wait to get that information. And there you go. This is it at 9,000 feet. Okay, so we've checked our SIGMET, convective SIGMET. We are pretty good. There's also the CWA, Center Weather Advisories. You should check those. SIGMET, convective SIGMET, AirMet, and then the CWAs. And we don't see any CWAs right now that are issued. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at, again, is our prognostic chart, because now we're getting closer to the flight. I know we just looked at it, but that was just as an example. So here it is. We look at the 11 a.m. and then at the 2, and then one more time right here. So it looks like right during our flight right here, there's going to be some weather along the route. We knew that. Okay, prognostic chart. Then we're going to move to the next thing. Let's take a look at the current condition. So we're going to go to weather, and we're going to look at observations. And This is looking a bit more dense as far as information, but we see our convective sigmoid again. We see the convective down here. We see our route of flight. And then here we have the ability to kind of zoom in and see what is going on currently. Remember, this is current observation. I'm going to close the display here. You'll be able to click on every airport along the route of flight and see exactly the information. Here's a METAR for this airport, and here's what's currently going on over there. Now, do you want to see the TAF as well? Guess what? You can do that. You can go into the options right here, and you can go into data and METAR. And then here, look at all the options we have available. First off, we can only take a look at some of the METAR information. We don't have to look at all of it. Maybe some of it is not of interest to you and you want to remove it. Then you would do that. You can change the scale of it, and then you can also have it decode your METAR if you don't know how to read the METARs, or you can include the TAF. So that's what I was trying to get to. If we do include TAF and we go back to that airport, then from here, it should load up in a second. If there's a TAF available, of course. It looks like these airports don't have TAFs available. They're not big enough. Let's go to this one. There it is. So here's the TAF, and here's the METAR as well. So you'd be able to get that information all on one page. Again, remember, this is current information. And you can see all these airports down here are having, obviously, quite a bit of weather happening. Lightning and, east, southwest. And then it looks like the visibility and everything is okay for now. But, quite a bit of stuff going on here. Okay. From this view, we can move on. Now that we've gotten our current observation, we can move on to the forecast. And I recommend that you go through each of these individually. Icing may not be an issue if you're flying in the summer, but I know that in Arizona, if we're flying at higher elevation, it's always something that we want to look at. Let's start with the ceiling and visibility. This will give us information about, guess what, the ceiling and the visibility. And here we can do our slider. Again, this is forecast, right? We're no longer in observation here. We are in forecast. So you have the ability to go forward throughout when you're going to be flying, expected to be flying. So you notice down here, it says 10:27 a.m., which is the current time as I'm recording this. And then for the next few hours, we can slide in 1 hour increments right here and see exactly what's happening. So we can see the symbols. We can click on them. Slight chance of light rain shower. And then here we have thunderstorm. Chance of light rain with showers, and then slight chance of thunderstorms. Now, if you forgot these symbols right here, guess what? You can go down here. It's going to give you some of it, but see this one right here? It says weather symbols. I'm going to open that in a new tab, and then I'm going to show you. There it is. You go right here, and it has all of the symbols, all in one location. You can see everything. So that's for all of the different graphical forecasts, not just the one tab that we were looking at. From here, we're going to go and look at the cloud coverage. And you notice it's pretty faint because that's what I changed earlier, right? I changed my map so that it wouldn't be nearly as dark. If you wanted to make it darker, because this is important, right? This is important information. There you go. It's a bit darker right here. This is a good one. This will tell you the sky coverage. And again, this is for when we are expected to be at that airport or in that area. So you can slide in 1 hour increments and see exactly what's happening. Maybe you want to delay your flight because of this, but we can click on that airport. We notice that a few clouds at 4,000, overcast 10,000, top at flight level 210. That's a pretty big layer. If you're going to be flying VFR, probably not the best idea right here. Okay. And then next one is going to be our precipitation. Same idea. If you wanted to look at the legend down here, it looks like we're going to have rain. We've noticed that. We've kind of guessed at that already. And if there was more, you'd be able to see that as well. You see all the symbols that we saw earlier as well with the lightning and everything. And then thunderstorm. This will give you an idea of isolated, scattered, or here. If we go back to our little help with the symbols, if you wanted to know more about a specific product, click on products right here. And then we're talking about thunderstorms. So here's thunderstorm and see isolated, scattered, numerous, and then it gives you the meaning next to it. So if we go back to our page, you see the numbers down, the colors down here. Right now, isolated and scattered looks like is what we have. And again, we can slide in 1 hour increments here to go, and see if that's going to go away eventually. So it looks like today flying at 5 p.m. might make a little bit more sense in our case. Next product, we're going to look at temperatures. This will help you figure out temperatures. Because temperatures are available at different altitude, we're going to have to select our different altitude up here on the left side. So 6,000 feet, we said possibly 9,000 feet. And then you can look at the temperature scale right here. It will give you more information. I find this page not as useful because you can't really select a specific temperature. You have to look at the scale. And I think that scale sometimes is a little bit confusing with the colors. But obviously here we are in the warmer temperature above 0. And then here we would be, it looks like, between 0 and -5 Celsius. So a risk of icing in this case. And then the next product would be our winds. Now, 2 different pieces of information here. The color is going to tell you the wind speed in general. And then those arrows, you're familiar with those, it's going to give you the wind direction. So you'll be able to see the wind direction on your route of flight, click on each of them and tell you exactly where the wind is going to come from. Remember, this is a forecast, not current information. So again, we can slide and see if the wind is going to change over time on our route of flight. It doesn't look like it's changing much. And then again, on the left, you can select different altitude. Okay, then we have our turbulence. If you're worried about that, which you should be, in some cases it might be turbulent, especially when we have this kind of weather here. When I looked earlier, there was not a whole lot of turbulence going on, but you can see again, light and to moderate. You'll see the color in here. Obviously, over this section here is where it looks like there's a bit more turbulence going on. But the next thing would be icing. And we have an icing advisory here. This is in 5 hours. So if we go down a little bit less, yep, there you go. We can see it's moving onto our route of flight as we wait a little bit longer. Again, you can select a different altitude if you want to on the left side here to see what's going on that route of flight. Okay, this is your forecast. This is your observation. This is kind of what I would do in order to do my pre-flight and then make a decision from here. Would I do this flight? Nope, not in VFR conditions, not in an aircraft that doesn't have icing equipment. So small general aviation, probably not. I wanted to show you a couple more things. We have the METAR data, the TAF data, the PIREP data, and then the WindsAloft data available in here. So very simple. You would click, you would put your airport just like on the homepage, and then you can also include the TAF if you want it from here. And there you go. It basically shows you that information. Let's click again on it. Yeah, load data, and then it gives me the TAF as well. And then if we go back, if you look at the TAF, you could also get it on the map. This is a TAF map, graphical version of the TAF only, okay? And so here, it cleans it up a little bit, right? It's better than the observation view that we had earlier that had all this stuff. You can do it from here. But you can also change your layers. So here you could add the CWAs and the AirMet and put everything on here. So you can customize your maps very easily. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, 2 more things, the PIREPs. You can take a look at the PIREPs and then you can see where that information is. There is a way to do it on the observation section here. So I would recommend looking at it. I hate these because you can never really locate them on your map and see exactly where they are. It takes a while. So I think the data version is not great. But the last thing I want to talk about is this. This is the data that is going away. The FAA is going to retire this in after October of 2023. It's still available right now as I'm recording this video, and it's you should know how to read these. But if you click on here and it's no longer available right here, that's the reason. It's been discontinued. But this would give you your WindsAloft at different station and at different elevation. So That's it. That's all we have. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if this is something that you would be using. Personally, I think this is a great tool. I think Noah did a great job. This is something that I'm going to be using during my flights instead of using ForeFlight. I think ForeFlight has a few, shortcomings when it comes to doing the weather briefing. And that's it.